Next up at 3:30 on CBS, we got the big CBS game. It feels like it's been forever since we have a CBS game. I can't even remember. What was the last one? I think it would have been Auburn LSU. Auburn LSU was the last CBS game. That game was in Auburn, and Auburn was able to smack LSU in that one. Ever since then, you had the You had the Texas A&M Ole Miss game get canceled last week, which was the CBS game. Before that, you had the Alabama LSU game get canceled before that one. And then I can't remember if there was one more or not. I feel like there was one more. Or I'm pretty sure that Auburn game was October 24th. I'm drawing a blank here. It is what it is. But CBS game, 3:30, the Iron Bowl. Obviously one of the most exciting games in college football each and every single year. Both of these teams are going to be ranked going into this game. Currently, Alabama's number 21 and Auburn's 23. Auburn had a win against Tennessee last night. You definitely would have liked to see more from Tanks Bigsby in that game. He seems to be like setting the identity for how Auburn plays offensively the whole game. Auburn was able to beat Tennessee 30-17. This game was a lot closer towards the beginning of the game. It was tied going into halftime, but it was the second half where Auburn was able to put up 20 points when Tennessee was only able to put up 7. That's the difference maker, just how you finish the game and everything. Auburn was able to score consistently each quarter. After the first quarter, they get shut out the first quarter, but then after that, they put up 10 points in each of the quarters. Bo Nix throws for 220 yards. Williams rushes for 66, and Anthony Schwartz catches for 84. I remember he had a deep ball touchdown. I just saw some highlights. I'm pretty sure this game was on during the South Carolina game, so I was watching that one over this one. And like I said, I already talked about this game with Kentucky. Alabama just absolutely rolled over Kentucky, like 63-3. That's FCS school numbers. Like when Alabama plays an FCS school, Alabama played a closer game to the Citadel a couple of years ago than they did Kentucky in this game. Kentucky just was not on, and Alabama was firing on every single level on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. 63 points, and you only allowed 3. Mac Jones, he only threw for 230 yards. McClellan was their leading rusher for 99, and then you had Devontae catching for 144. This team is real good. There's a reason why they have that one next to their name. Alabama is the best team in the nation for a reason. It's not just a fluke. It's not just because what they've done in previous years. This team is really good. Like, let's look at a box score from some of the, let's see. Devontae catches 9 receptions, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mechie had 1. You had Najee Harris rushing for 2. You had McClellan rushing for 1. Williams rushing for 1. Robinson rushing for 1. It was just like everyone was handing out touchdowns. It was like an Oprah Winfrey show. I don't know why did I say opera. That made me sound stupid. I know it's Oprah. I just screwed up there. But Mac Jones, he threw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 16 for 24. You got to see Bryce Young in at the end of the game, and he threw a touchdown to Devontae Smith. It's great to see the future of Alabama football getting in Young because he is a great quarterback. He's one of the top quarterbacks of his class, so it was really good to get him to see him in this game. But let's get into the Iron Bowl because this is going to be a very exciting game. Obviously, you have Auburn winning last year on the... How'd that game end? I watched that game last year. I'm pretty sure it was an offside penalty that cost it for Alabama last year. Someone jumped offside for Alabama last year, and that was the game. But then you also had the missed field goal late in that game. I remember you had like the 100-yard pick 6 that was like thrown to Najee Harris's wrong shoulder, and he turned around and he like tipped it up to one of the Auburn guys, and he ran all the way. That was a very exciting game, a very good game. Bo Nix played really well that game. But the main difference here is that this game is in Alabama. This game is not in Auburn. That is a huge difference because I can't remember the last time that Auburn beat Alabama in Alabama. Would it have been 2010 back when Cam was on the team? I feel like that would have been the last time. I may be wrong on that, but I feel like that would have been the last time that Auburn did beat Alabama in Alabama. This game usually favors Auburn's way when they are playing in Auburn. They have a better chance of beating Alabama when they are playing at home. If Alabama's playing at home here, even though there is no fan or there isn't full capacity of fans in here, and the way that Alabama's been playing, 49.4 points per game when Auburn's only putting up 28.6. Alabama's only allowed 19.3 points a game, while Auburn's allowed 22. Total passing yards a game, 500, or total yards per game, 548 yards for Alabama. Auburn's putting up 402, which is still decent, but the other team's putting up 548 total yards a game. That is something special that they got there in Tuscaloosa. I've said it again. This is the best offense in all of college football. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind that this Alabama offense is the best, because even though you lose Jalen Waddle earlier in the season in that Tennessee game, Devontae Smith is arguably one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in college football right now. Najee Harris, in my opinion, I've said this each and every week, in my opinion, he's the best running back in all of college football. I'd take him over Etienne. I'd take him over Chuba. I'd take him over all those guys. He is an NFL-ready back. He's been NFL-ready for a while, and I love that he came back for another year. I really, really like Najee Harris. He's already rushed for 16 touchdowns this year, 797 yards. I don't know if him and Kevin Harris was the leading rusher for the SEC coming into this game. I think he still is, because neither of those guys had big games yesterday, but that's because I'm pretty sure that Harris has played more games than Najee Harris, or Kevin Harris has played more games than Najee Harris has. Other than that, like I said, you have Waddle go out, but this guy named John Mechie, who's from Brampton, Ontario, where I'm from Toronto, and we both live like 45. He was born like 45 minutes away. Both Canadian boys. I love watching this kid play. Not only because he's Canadian, but he is a good football player. I love seeing Canadians in college football, especially when they're on Alabama, a team like that. He's caught for 4 touchdowns this year, 535 yards. This guy is the future of Alabama football in that receiving core. Alabama's wide receiver, no question about it. I could argue till the sun goes down about how amazing Alabama wide receivers are. There is no university that I would take that has better wide receivers over Alabama in any given scenario. Like, not a chance. Not a chance. But enough of me talking and ranting, or not really ranting, but gloating on Alabama's offense. Let's talk about this Auburn offense, because this team can roll. When these guys get going, this team can roll. Bo Nix obviously has been shaky this year at some points, but there has been other points where he's been playing really good. Obviously, that LSU game that I was talking about earlier, that CBS game, that was a bright spot for Auburn and their offense this season. Can they get back to that? And I feel like it all really starts with their running back in Tank Bigsby. 5-star running back. He's a freshman. He comes in this year. He has been playing lights out so far for Auburn, and a real bright spot for the future of Auburn. He has rushed for 527 yards, 5 touchdowns this year, but he's also really good receiving-wise. He's only caught for 11 receptions and 84 yards, but I really like him receiving. If they can get this guy more touches, just get the ball in his hands, it opens up the rest of the offense so much more. In my opinion, this is one of my favorite players in college football right now. Seth Williams, wide receiver out of Auburn. Love watching him play. He's just a guy, I don't really feel like he's going to beat you with his feet. He's not going to be like Anthony Schwartz. He's not going to be a guy who will sprint past you. He's not going to be a guy to juke you out and everything. He can catch every single ball. I love watching Seth Williams play. I hope he goes in the first round of the draft. I hope he goes to my Chicago Bears, because we definitely need some help in the receiving game. Anthony Schwartz is the fastest player in college football. Both of those guys, if you're able to get Bigsby going and Bo Nix is playing well and you're able to get Williams and Schwartz out in the open field, that's going to be dangerous. That's got to get Alabama thinking and everything. That's going to get their defense, because we have seen Alabama's defense can be a weakness at some points. You see, they allowed like 50-plus points to Ole Miss, I'm pretty sure, this season. That was probably the best game I've watched all year so far, other than Notre Dame Clemson. I remember watching that Alabama-Ole Miss game, and I was blown away. That was a very, very entertaining game. That was a nice, fun game to watch, fun football. This game is tough for me to pick, because as much as I like Alabama this season, as much as I think that they're the best team in the nation, Auburn always likes to put up a fight and screw around with Alabama and their schedule, because this is different. Auburn could be 0-7 at this point, and Alabama could still be 7-0, but Auburn is still going to put up the same fight that they are now, because this is a rivalry game. You know how much this means to the people of Alabama, because you're either in Alabama, you're either an Auburn fan, or you're an Alabama fan. There's no in between, unless you have like the South Alabama or UAB fans. I've never met a fan of either of those teams, so it's either Alabama or Auburn, but this game's at home. Nick Saban's the greatest coach of all time. You got the greatest offense in all of college football. You got one of the Heisman favorites in Mac Jones. You got some of the best receivers in the game. You got the best running back. It is just way too hard to pick against Alabama in this game. It's way too hard. I know it's a rivalry game, but Alabama's the best team. They got a 1 next to their name for a reason, so give me the Alabama Crimson Tide in this game.